Alright, so here's what I got here for y'all. It's aFe power, and here is the part number for the intake. See what I got in here. I already kind of opened it up already, but not looked fully through it, so we're gonna look through it right now. See what we got. Alright, so first of all, I notice this huge filter on here, and I believe this is the oil type filter on here. Yep, I don't know if you guys can read it, but it says factory pre-oiled. Next up is all the hardware and stuff like that. I'm going to put to the side. The box, in which it's actually going to be sitting inside, and then a few hoses on here, a few vacuum hoses on here. Put that to the side too as well. Let's see what else we got. Comes with the coupler for the throttle body. It actually comes with an actual license plate mount here too as well, and a few stickers on there. So pretty awesome deal here, and I actually got it for a really good deal on here. So well, here's another coupler on here. Here is the pipe itself, the intake pipe, which goes right into the throttle body. A few more couplers and this top plate on here. And then it actually does come with instructions on here too as well, so we're gonna look through that and go from there. Alright, so anytime you guys are dealing with any electrical connections like this mass flow sensor, you definitely want to take off your negative cable over here, which I've already done already on here. But I'm going to lift up this cover, and I'm going to clean this guy here because it is pretty dirty. Alright, so first order, we're going to go ahead and unplug the mass flow sensor on here. It just plugs right off. This guy is off. We're going to undo this vacuum hose. And undo the PVC valve hose here too as well. So that and undo the throttle body. And then on the box here, there's a few clips on here that you just pop off. So there's one on this side, one here, one over here, and one on this side here. And one side is off, so thing can come right out. Alright, so next step now is to get rid of this box, this lower box here. I believe there's 3 10mm bolts holding it in. So there's one right here. Those guys out. There's one over here. And I think that might be it. Just 2. Alright, so here is the newer box on here. Alright, so before you guys actually install this box, make sure that you put the weather seal onto where that outlet is at on here. It comes with the kit that has the extra hose, and that part I forgot to put on before installing the unit. I did put it on after installing it, but it was kind of hard to do that. But just make sure you put in the weather seal on the outlet. Alright, so we are going to be using the stock hardware that was on the stock box to mount the actual box into the frame here. So basically you have to take the collar off the old box like that, and then the rubber gasket will come off. In this case here, I'm going to actually be installing it just like this, so this rubber gasket will seat down into the box here. So, and there's only two. Alright, so the box is in. It's not as sturdy as I want it to be, but I believe once we put everything on, then it'll be a little bit more sturdier than what it is now. But yeah, the biggest pain is putting the stock hardware back on these guys here. So it's gonna take you guys a while. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at this guy here. So this is where this guy will actually plug in like that. But before we do that, let's go ahead and install these fittings onto here. Alright, so this guy here, let's go ahead and put some Teflon paste onto this guy, onto this fitting here. Right, so the next step now is to install the fitting onto the intake. What I use is I just use some Teflon paste, or you could use Teflon tape to make sure that the threads are all coated on there, so that way it does not leak. Alright, so the next step now is to install the mass airflow sensor onto the intake pipe. Just make sure that you are really careful with that sensor because it is really expensive. Alright, so they do provide a gasket for this mass airflow sensor. So as you guys can see, there's a sticky part to it. So the sticky part will actually go onto the intake. So in order to install it, you just have to flip it around. So that way the sticky part will sit onto the intake, kind of like that. And they do provide hardware to install this kit on. Now I forgot to mention that there is two small little nylon washers that will go between the intake and the mass airflow sensor that will act as a spacer. So install that onto it before you put the screws in. Alright, so the next step now is to install that coupling onto the box there. There's a few openings for bolts to go through. You basically line it up to the box there, and you pretty much tighten it up. Don't tighten up all the way, just make sure it's loosely on there, so that way there's room to move around in the box before you tighten everything up and whatnot here. But go ahead and install that guy, and then after that go ahead and install the air filter onto there. And there's going to be a bigger hose clamp that will go onto the filter there. Go ahead and undo the clamp there just to make it a little bit easier on you. Alright, so the next step now is to install the intake onto the box there. So go ahead and grab your both of your couplers. Go ahead and put the bigger side on the bigger side, and then go ahead and play around with the fitment of it and whatnot, and where you want it to be at for the coupler there. I know they want you to be like at a certain distance and whatnot, but I mean honestly it's just a coupler, so go ahead and put it on as tight as you can and just make sure that everything fits on there perfectly fine. And then go ahead and just tighten everything up with the hose clamp that's been provided. Go ahead and undo those clamps as well, just to make it easier on you to put them back on. Alright, so the next step now is to install the vacuum fitting, and we're going to install it to the new fitting that we just installed, and then there's going to be a bigger hose on there that we are going to be replacing with the newer hose that came with the kit. So go ahead and undo that hose there, and we are actually going to be reusing one of the old clips on there on one end of the hose, and go ahead and undo that. Go ahead and put it on that hose there. Next up now is to cut the hose to the same length, or kind of the same length as the old hose that was on there before. I just used a pair of wire cutters and cut that up, and then go ahead and install the hose clamp on there that's been provided too as well with the kit. So go ahead and tighten that guy up on there. Alright, so here is before the intake install. This is all stock, alright? Alright, pretty quiet, pretty quiet. Let me see if I can give it a little bit more oomph. Coming this way here. Oh, there's a geese on the road. All right.
A few moments later.
Alright, first one. Oh. A lot louder. That's for sure. Okay. I felt a little bit of power there. It definitely has more get up to it, more throttle response to it now.